Enchantress.
Jesus Christ.
Don't you disrespect me, little man. Don't you derogate or deride. You're in my world now, not your world. And I got friends on the other side.
Alright, necromancy is the school of magic which just won't die, and let's face it, even if it did die, it would just come shambling back. In my previous few videos about necromancy, I missed a rather fun little character build. That's the Gravewalker Witch. Now this character can do all kinds of fun things, like make deals with spooky otherworldly patrons, raise the dead, bestow curses, play with voodoo dolls, and other things that will give the paladin a complete and utter conniption. The race I recommend for the Gravewalker Witch is a tiefling. As a tiefling, you get a +2 to dexterity, a +2 to intelligence, and a -2 to charisma. I'm going to recommend some of the alternate racial traits for the tiefling, but you're going to be getting both dark vision, which lets you see in the dark, obviously, and fiendish resistance. This gives you resistance 5 against electricity, fire, and cold. So the alternate traits I'm going to recommend are claws, just because they're cool, and it gives you a weapon that's always ready to hand. Vestigial wings, because you're going to be flying with this, and the sight of the Gravewalker Witch drifting over a small group of undead is the kind of thing that the DM will probably give you a free intimidate check for. You know, with these spooky skeleton wings just fanning in the breeze. And the prehensile tail, just because I find it to be useful and you can sort of retrieve stowed items with it. Alright, now, as you would guess, the Gravewalker Witch is all about raising the undead to do your bidding. And this archetype affects both the spells your patron gives you and some of the hexes you're basically forced to take. But you still have the ability to pick which patron you're going with. I'm going to recommend the elemental patron just because of all of the potential witch patrons, the elemental one has the most actual damage dealing spells. The bonus spells you're going to be getting are Shocking Grasp, Command Undead, Animate Dead, Ice Wall, and Flame Strike. I'm only taking this build out to level 10. And as is typical for witch patrons, you're going to be getting those spells at 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, and 10th level. Now let's talk about the hexes you should go with for your Gravewalker Witch. So, first thing you're going to get is a thing called Aura of Desecration. The wording is a little bit vague, but at first level, the Gravewalker Witch creates a 20-foot aura of evil energies. This aura increases the DC of channeled negative energy by 1, and increases the undead's ability to resist channeled positive energy by 1. And at 3rd level, and every 2 levels thereafter, the radius increases by 5 feet. This is important because most of your abilities only function in this radius, so you're a very mid-range fighter. You get this ability at level 1, and they're vague on whether or not it's something you need to activate, because it doesn't seem to have a time limit or anything. The second ability you get as a Gravewalker Witch is Bone Thrall. This is basically Command Undead, the feat, for free. You can seize control of any undead you encounter. If someone else is controlling the undead, you have to make an opposed charisma check, and you can control 1 HD of undead per level. You can also do this at level 1. The final level 1 ability you get is Possess Undead. You can take control of your undead minions as if using the Magic Jar spell. This will unfortunately leave your body helpless, although if you have a big, bad, powerful, large category undead, it may be worth the effort. You can also do this at level 1. But Bone Thrall and Possess Undead replace your 4th and 8th level hexes, and Aura of Desecration replaces your 1st. Another interesting feature about the Gravewalker Witch is the fact that your familiar is replaced with a fun little thing called a Spell Puppet. Now, the Spell Puppet gives you a very, very helpful feature at level 3. You can basically use him like a voodoo doll. You can, as a full round action, designate a target within your Aura of Desecration, and deliver a touch spell as if it was a ranged touch attack. So obviously you want Dexterity to be one of your higher skills. So obviously you want Dexterity to be one of your higher ability scores. Now that I've gone over your spoken for hexes, I want to talk to you about the hexes which I also recommend for this character. The first one is going to be Evil Eye, because this will decrease your enemy's ability to resist your necromantic powers. I also highly recommend Flight because flying fixes so many problems that casters have. It gets you out of the range of melee fighters, and it makes you a lot more maneuverable. And I'm going to recommend the Grand Hex Retribution. Basically what this does is you designate a target, and when they do melee damage to an opponent, they take half of that damage that they inflicted. It's fantastic. Alright, now let's move on to feats. One of the most important feats that I recommend for any spellcaster is Weapon Finesse, although you're not going to be using that very often. But it works well with a high dexterity, and it allows you to hit with things like melee touch attacks. At 3rd and 5th level, I recommend Skill Focus and Greater Skill Focus in Necromancy because you're going to be slinging a lot of necromantic spells around. At 7th level, I recommend you get the Extra Hex and get Misfortune, just because forcing your opponent to roll twice and take the lower is a really great way to mess someone up. Finally, at 9th level, I highly recommend a Cursed Hex. This means that if you try to hex someone and they manage to save against it, you get the opportunity to hex them again. Alright, finally, let's look at the spells I recommend to go along with this build. First off, there's Shocking Grasp. This is just a bread and butter spell. Your undead soldiers are going to be doing most of the damage for you, but if you run into situations where you're going up against squishy enemies who don't have a lot of health, Shocking Grasp is a great spell to have because it does 5d6 of damage, it scales really well, and it's just good to have. Next, I recommend Ray of Enfeeblement. It really decreases enemy hitting power, and you want to do everything you can to protect your undead minions. Inflict Wounds has a fantastic double purpose. First off, you can use it to heal your undead, and you can use it to damage your enemies if that's what you want to do. Bestow Curse. Bestow Curse will be really useful for you. It's a fantastic debuff. When combined with hexes like Evil Eye or Misfortune, you're really likely to land this. And this is going to be great for devastating larger opponents. Summon Monster. You're already going to have a lot of action happening around you in the middle of a battle, but having another body you can just throw out there is never a bad thing in my opinion. Touch of Idiocy. Now, because you can deliver this at range, and there's no save against it, you can demolish someone's ability to resist spells, because Touch of Idiocy does 1d6 damage to all of your opponent's mental stats. That's Wisdom, Charisma, and Intelligence. If you're going up against any sort of caster, this is great. Finally, Poison. Again, because you can deliver this at range. Poison is brutal. It does Constitution damage for 6 rounds. Now I'd like to mention an item that I think thematically would really go well with this character. It's called a Ward Painting Kit. This basically allows you to create this kind of alchemic paint. You can grind your material components for your spells into it and then apply basically spell runes to your character's body and then cast them without needing the material components, unless of course they have a specific component value or there's something really weird. With a Ward Painting Kit, you can also basically prepare spells with Still Spell. The DC to do this is 15 plus spell level. Okay, so I want to end with just a brief word about tactics. Your undead soldiers are going to be doing most of the fighting for you, but your job is going to be debilitating your enemies. So that's things like Ray of Enfeeblement, Bestow Curse. Remember to fly and stay out of their range, but not so far away that your enemies are outside of your aura. So 10 feet up is probably the distance you want. Thank you for watching D6 Damage. If you're interested in more character builds or class analysis guides on Pathfinder and D&D, check out my channel right here on YouTube. Thank you for watching.